Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today at Artists in Residences by Baton Rouge Gallery. I am your host, Jonathan Perrin, and I'd like to thank you all for being here. I know it's kind of a stormy day out there today, it looks like. Um, Welcome to the show. First, I would like to thank each and every one of our artists that are joining us today. We've got Rob Carpenter, Amy Regutti, and Barton Gilley. We're going to talk with each of them in turn and go over a little bit of their work, the cool art that they do, and some of the maybe some of the struggles we've kind of seen lately. It's quite a show. Shout outs real quick. We've got coming up is Flat Curve Gallery. If you are anyone of any age and use any kind of medium and you want to show off your art, I know you've got the time on your hands. You've probably got a few things working on right now anyway. So go to BatonRougeGallery.org, Flat Curve Gallery, and there you can submit your art. It's free. Anyone can do it. And if we will select through the work and put it on social media and kind of get the word out a little bit, kind of share what we're all doing while we're stuck in quarantine. Shout out real quick to Breck, partners with us since 1966. They are the reason why we are able to have a location where we are. And though I know we're kind of not at that location right now, we will be again. And we are excited to be able to get back out and be able to do that in the future. If you are not a Baton Rouge Gallery member, if you are interested in becoming a Baton Rouge Gallery member, or if you're interested in re-upping your membership, we have, let's see, BatonRougeGallery.org/join, and you will be able to look at our membership options. We have monthly membership options starting at only $5 a month. And, please consider supporting the gallery. Please consider supporting the wonderful artists like we're going to talk to today and in the future on programs just like this. Without our members, we're not much of a gallery. But with more of you, with all of us together, we're stronger, and we are able to get more art to you and provide more entertainment in this weird age we're living in. Of course, also, if you're interested in donating, BatonRougeGallery.org, you can see sliding through the little slider there at the bottom of the screen. Please consider contributing. Without any further ado, I would like to bring on our first guest, Rob Carpenter. Rob,
hey,
how are you today?
I'm fine. I'm filling up a pen, getting ready to work on a drawing. So I'm working as we speak.
You're at your desk at this moment,
Yes,
applying pen to paper as we
I got to
speak.
do it this way. So
Okay, so you tell me about that a little bit then. What is the type of ink or pen, or is this like proprietary secret information we can't know?
Oh no, it's called a technical pen. You only got to learn to move one way, not the other. It's a little
Whoa,
drafting.
you're kind of skipping out on me there just a little bit.
People had, there
Okay,
it
good.
is, and so I'm putting them back. Whoops, got to go that way. I'm putting them back together again.
Okay, so there's a little well in there already.
Little nib, yeah. So it's a cartridge, and these come with different size tips, and so you can make skinny lines and fat lines, and
Very cool.
And that's what I did. So
tell us a little bit about yourself. Where you went to school, what got you into art in the first place. Just give us the Rob Carpenter experience.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm from Mississippi. Grew up in Jackson, Mississippi. Got my history degree from Mississippi State, and then I decided to not teach history, so I started studying art at Delta State University, the home of the Fighting Okra, and went there for 2 years, and then I got accepted to grad school at LSU, and spent 3 wonderful years there. So then in time, I got a teaching job at Nicholls State and taught there a while. Then I quit, and then I moved to New York and ended up in Phoenix. And then lo and behold, I ended up back in Thibodeau for a good long while. I retired several years ago. So.
Well, welcome back. We appreciate you being here.
I'm glad to be here.
As I understand it, you in the past had worked primarily in oil paints and canvas, and you transitioned a little later on into doing. I'm going to bring up some here in a second. Some of these really intricate pen and paper drawings. Do you call them drawings or in illustrations?
They're drawings using this pen and ink tool I was telling you about. So I was trained painting, drawing, taught painting, drawing, taught a little bit of everything, art history and whatever at Nicholls. But yeah, I was trained as a painter. I was a representational painter, pretty academic training when I was at Delta State. And but I just did an about face about 10 years ago to becoming a non-objective artist like you see on the screen there. And that was kind of a serendipitous transition. I didn't really plan it this way, but my friend David Horton, who's a Baton Rouge gallery artist, was in my classroom one day and made a
I lost that last bit you said.
David said, somebody said, boy,
Yeah.
Rob's kind of crazy making all these intricate marks. And David said, Rob just likes to make marks on a page. And I said, whoa, that's it. I don't need these images anymore. So that's when I began developing this series of work that I call Path of Moving Points, which is the definition of a line. So you can see there's lots of lines there.
Yeah, and take me a little bit through this process, because all of this, it from standing back from it, and we could even see one behind you there on the screen a little. Yeah. And what we just showed, it's a big texture piece, but you get close and it's all, it almost to me seems like this is something woven. There are dots, dashes, little serpentine shapes. Take me through a little bit of your process. How do you work through
that's
these things to create this piece?
Some of the drawings, at least initially, they were just rectilinear lines, straight lines. Don't use a fancy art word. And then I began to use, as some of the images you saw on the screen were curvilinear. And so initially I would always start off drawing. I got rid of the grid idea and began doing these concentric circular curving lines.
Okay. And you talked briefly about your technical pen. Do you have to create like this to keep everything together? Do you have any other like specialized tools that you use? Is this something you just kind of dive headfirst into?
Yeah, pretty much now. Like I say, I don't even draw a grid anymore. I just jump right into it. And your observation is one that I've heard so many times about the drawings looking like weavings or tapestries, and so I just have embraced that idea, because they are, in a way, they are kind of like tapestries, because they're thin threads of line that I do a layer of line, then I come in and do another layer of line. And by the time it's all said and done, you kind of get an idea when you look at this image. There's probably about 10 layers of line. And all these images are 32 inches square. So it takes a little while to put one together. So
okay. So it takes a while. I imagine. How do you know when to stop? Do you set back and a feeling washes over you, you just understand that it's done, or is it like you just got to put the pencil down, Rob, just walk away, Rob?
or I ran out of space on the paper. No.
Actually,
It's what happens is I put down a layer of lines and then start another layer of lines. And once I've got about 3 or 4 layers, things kind of start happening a little bit. So every time I cover a page with lines, it requires kind of a recalculation of what I'm going to do next.
sure.
So again, as the density begins to build up, I begin to see what shapes are emerging and kind of maybe pull those out a little bit more. So it's an ongoing process, and yeah, eventually I get to a point where I say, okay, I think we're done here. So,
speaking of your process, do you find that your work is more meditative in nature or more cathartic in nature? Like, do you get into a trance and just kind of blow through it, or is it like you have a certain feeling that fuels your process?
It is a very meditative process.
Yeah.
I'm hesitant to use the word tedious because that's a little bit of a pejorative, but it's a repetitive process. I'll be honest with you, I can listen to an audio book while I'm working and still be able to do this. It's just that, as I was saying a few minutes ago, I get to a certain point.
Oh, you're skipping out on us a little bit there. I know that there's some weather coming through the area currently, that might be what's kind of like bumping our connection a little bit.
Right. But so it's a very meditative process, and I do this in the good old days 3-4 hours a day, but nowadays I'm working like 5-6 hours a day.
Yeah. Wow. How do you uncross your eyes when I'm finished? Oh no, I'm losing you again.
Lost you a little bit there.
Yeah. Okay. How do you take a step back and like walk away? Do you just, is it a momentary thing? You just put down the pen and you're done, or?
No, usually once I've completed a layer, that's when I start doing my calculating about what are you going to do, or what do you need to do next? What colors do you need to impose? What shapes am I seeing at this stage of the drawing that look like they could be developed and become a more important part of the composition? So it's an ongoing recalculating of the image as they develop. So
great. Okay. Well, I've got a quick question from one of our audience members. If you are interested, we can kind of dive into this one a little bit. I'm going to bring up our picture here again. Kelsey's asking, can you tell us about the notes you've made at the bottom of the frame drawing next to the date? And I guess what she's referring to here is at the bottom of the middle, you can kind of see the different color
numbers and so forth.
Okay.
Actually, where you see my signature, and there's 11/05/18. That was the date that I completed the drawing, and so every drawing is called passive moving points, but to distinguish one from the other, that was the end date. So that will be the title of that particular passive moving point. The other smaller pictures, you see there's different colors, and maybe those are the different colors and when I finish using that particular color. It's just kind of help me to remind me what color went into all this stuff. So
like you finished green on 10/13, you finished purple on 10/16, etc.
Right.
So almost in a way, you're able to capture several works of art layered on top of each other at different times. Like you could do just green, one of these layers, and it still be a work of art. But you're able to do several at a time and kind of compound it together and make this very interesting.
Well, just like a painter, sometimes I work with a monochromatic field of color. Sometimes I deliberately limit myself to a limited palette of 4 colors. And then sometimes, I'll just, bring the whole shooting match into the thing and use a full color. So it's just what I want to do this time. So.
Awesome. Rob, it's great to hear from you. I'm glad you were able to be on the stream today, and it was a pleasure talking with you. You can find Rob Carpenter at Facebook. Just search him out.
And carpenterart.com. That's my website, robcarpenterart.com, and I'm on Facebook all the time. So. And I show these drawings in stages too on Facebook too. So.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I've seen some of your process pictures on Facebook and such, and it's really involved. It's incredible detail.
Thank you.
At the end of the stream, I will try to get everybody's links dropped into the comments section. That way, if anybody wants to check any of this out, all they have to do is check out our comments and go do a little click. Rob, thank you so much. I appreciate you being here with us today, and I'm going to go ahead and let you go.
Okay, thanks, John.
Thanks. Ooh, sorry. Anybody that's out there viewing right now, feel free to drop a question in the comments section. We will try to take a question or two at the end of each segment. Again, thank you, Rob. Amazing work. Love to have you. Next up, we have Amy Regutti, our pop surrealist. Amy, how are you today?
Hello, I'm good.
Hi. Great. So you've been featured recently in Flat Curve Gallery. And then before that, you actually had been with us a few times, shown with us a few times in our Surreal Salon that we've done each year, up until this point. So tell me a little bit first about your art, what kind of got you into art, and kind of like where you're at now.
Well, I've had kind of a bumpy, long road. I didn't really know I could draw until high school. And once I figured that out, then I went ahead and attended Northern Illinois University for painting in Illinois. And it was mostly abstraction then. And so when I got out, I was pretty confused because I think I'm primarily an imagist. And so I took a 15-year break from painting altogether in art and became an acupuncturist. And I got my master's degree in traditional Oriental medicine. And then I hit my 50s, and I really, really started to miss painting a lot. And so I got back into it in 2011.
Great, thank you. So in your journeys through your involvement with art and where you draw your inspiration from, we talked a little bit before, and you told me a little bit about a visit to Baton Rouge in Louisiana that you took that had a significant note of inspiration. Tell me a little bit about this little journey you went on.
Sure. Well, I had originally eloped in New Orleans many, many years ago with my husband, and we just loved Louisiana, New Orleans, just driving through the bayou, the swamps. We went on trips in the swamps. And so the last time I came to Baton Rouge for the Surreal Salon, which was just such a great show, it really inspired me to bring my characters into a new environment. I'd always painted them in these kind of geometric environments or space. And I just love the idea of them having this life inside these mysterious swamps. And so I started the series Swamp Love. And my characters are always kind of they're not really human. They're a hybrid of maybe a service robot that's run away or something genetically enhanced. And the idea is just that they get into these like deep places in nature, and they can retool themselves to exist with nature, and they don't need us. And so I kept wondering why I always put everything in the foreground, but it's because I had this idea that you drive up and your car headlights flash on something in the woods, and one of these creatures comes out, and they're just they're very individual. They can take care of themselves. They're a little mischievous. They'd prank you if they had a chance, but really they're part of this idea that I have that there's hope for the planet in the future. They're supposed to be a positive force,
Okay, so kind of like a new elemental, a new force of nature, maybe.
Yeah.
Mother Nature hits Bourbon Street. Comes out of it a little different in the end.
Yeah, and this idea that they can, they're not human, but they've adopted some remnants, things they like about us, maybe, our fancy clothes or any number of things. Maybe but they're, they're not us, but they're a little intrigued,
And I think in my perspective, just viewing these, you do at first glance, oh, that's just mostly a perfectly normal human, and then even just moments later you realize that there is something otherworldly but not too far separated from our own world that really kind of draws you in to look at it deeper.
Yes, exactly.
So you said you took a trip to New Orleans. I put this in my notes. I don't know if I got this right, but I think you said Michigan. You're from
Wisconsin.
Okay, I knew I messed up somewhere. So coming from Wisconsin to Baton Rouge, I think you had said you'd never been that far south.
No, not originally. It was like a totally different world.
Totally different world, but at the same time, we talked earlier a little bit about the heat and the mosquitoes.
Yeah.
and in the same aspect, we kind of get a little bit of that here. How I know you've been kind of going through a lot in the last few months, and and then on top of that, we kind of ran into the pandemic. So I know you're recovering. How has your recovery experience been so far?
Well, thank goodness, I have art. I was in a head-on collision with a truck, and it was a weird experience because I had a big external fixator in my leg. And by the time I could go for my next surgery to have it removed, it was interesting. My body had just really healed up around it and adapted it, which I thought was a really odd experience to have given the subject matter of my paintings, that they're these kind of hybridized creatures. And so anyway, but luckily, about 3 months in, I could start making art again, which was just hugely comforting. I have a tendency to paint my way through my emergencies. But it was odd to be so confined and kind of be in quarantine for months before the pandemic started. And so I just want to say that I really understand how people feel with the pandemic kind of ripping the rug out from under them and changing everything in a second,
Yeah, of course. It's been a roller coaster for everybody, and I'm glad to hear you're, recovering well. And I just can't imagine, it's this whole, like, we're all going through it, and we're all separate put together, but then there's still this other layer that there's people still having to go through their lives and whatever.
Yes, yeah. And I think the thing that I've taken away from it more than anything is just sometimes things are weird, and to just let them be weird, because it's not static. It's not static. It'll change.
Mm-hmm. I love that, actually, in particular, because just the surrealist art movement as a whole has that kind of that tenacity to it. You know, if it's weird, let it be weird.
Yeah.
And
Ride
maybe
the wave.
keep it up. Maybe it won't be so weird anymore. Yeah. Cool. So let's see. I've got another little thing to call out here. You're Amy Regutti on Facebook. You've got Space Throb at Space Throb on Instagram, and then we've actually got if anybody's interested in taking a look a little deeper into some of Amy's art, I'm going to drop a link to her Etsy store in our comments at the end of the program, and that way we can kind of get an idea, take a look at some of your other work, and kind of keep tabs on how things are going. I appreciate you coming on the show today.
Thank you for having me. I'm just so honored.
Thank you. Hopefully, before too long, we'll have some good news, and I hope to see you again in the future, maybe at another Surreal Salon.
Oh, I hope so too. I wouldn't miss it for the world.
And please feel free. I know you've already kind of put a little bit into Flat Curve Gallery, but feel free to keep it up, because that's
I will, and I became a member. I hope some other people will too.
Yes, thank you so much for that too, by the way. Yeah, that's great. It's great news. And I'm going to go ahead and let you go. Move on to our next guest. I appreciate again you coming on, and I wish you well.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you so much. So again, if anybody has any questions, concerns, comments, wants to chime in, feel free to drop a line in our comments. I'll be able to see that here and can relay that directly to the artist. We can talk a little bit more about, some of the things you might have questions about. Again, Flat Curve Gallery, BatonRougeGallery.org/Flat Curve Gallery. If you're interested in any way in contributing or joining, BatonRougeGallery.org/join. We have memberships available monthly for as low as $5, and that really helps keep up with this kind of programming. Next up, I'm going to bring on our special guest for today is Barton Gilley. Barton is a special effects artist, and Barton, welcome to the program.
How you doing?
Hey, I'm really good. Smooth sailing so far, so couldn't be better.
Yeah, good.
So without me kind of trampling all over this, tell us a little bit about your art and kind of how you got into the type of art you do. I see you have one of your puppets. It's an animatronic puppet behind you there. Yeah. Tell us a little bit about how you came into doing this kind of work, and then maybe a little bit about some of the work you're currently doing.
Okay. So I went to LSU, studied sculpture. And I've just always had a fascination with robotics, and so I saw Short Circuit when I was a kid, and Star Wars. I think I was crazy about Star Wars because of R2-D2 and C-3PO and Terminator and all that stuff. But I was especially interested in the Jim Henson Creature Shop, because it was kind of the perfect mashup between the robotics and the art world, with the creatures and that were in the labyrinth and the Dark Crystal, and so basically, like this character behind me, it's kind of a mixture between sculpture and the robotic side of things. So everything I did in school was mechanically had a mechanical element to it. So it's just kind of what I've continued to do.
Yeah, and apparently, very well. We're excited to see some of your work that you're going to show us a little bit later on. Barton has told me that he has a special little project that he wants to show us, so stay tuned until the very end, and I'll have a few clips and a few things to show off some of Barton's amazing work. You briefly kind of dropped in there Dark Crystal. I know that was actually one of the more recent credits that you got, was working on the Dark Crystal Age of Resistance series that we had seen recently on Netflix.
Yeah.
You and our mutual friend Clay Ashe kind of went on a little journey in that direction. Why don't you tell us a little bit about how that played out?
Yeah. So I guess in 2016 there was the Jim Henson Company had a contest to make a short film that fit within the world of the Dark Crystal. So Clay and I actually we knew each other, but not very well. But we connected at a maker fair at the library, and we were talking and kind of realized that we're both doing Jim Henson type work. Mine being more the animatronic side, and his more of the Muppet side. So anyway, we had both heard about this contest and both dismissed it because I dismissed it because I can't write stories, but I can build the creatures, and he dismissed it because he couldn't build the creatures, but he can write story. And so we teamed up. We did this short film contest and spent about 6 months on it. He wrote a script super fast, and then we kind of decided on what this character is going to look like. And I got to work building that. He was building the set while I was doing this. And so we entered it. And most of the films that were entered in the contest were very much Dark Crystal. They used characters from the Dark Crystal and continued the story. We thought we were being very clever by creating a new character and kind of making up our own story. So I'm not sure if this is why we didn't get top 5, but we got honorable mention. And the prize for the contest was to go to LA and get a tour of the Creature Shop and the Jim Henson Studio. So when we didn't get top 5, we were pretty bummed out. But then like a week went by and we got a phone call, and they said we would like to extend the prize to the honorable mentions.
Yeah, that's amazing. So
we were on cloud 9. So we made arrangements. We went and we did the tour, and I was completely in heaven. And so I told myself I wasn't going to just go into the shop and leave with nothing. So I grabbed the guy that was bringing us on the tour, and I just started showing him pictures and videos of my work. And he was like, wow, you want to work on a project eventually? Or, exactly what I wanted to hear. And so he gave me his business card, and I emailed him when I got home, and I said, don't wait for me to, don't worry about me not living there. I'll make accommodations to get there.
Yeah.
Whatever way we got to make this work. And he said, okay, cool. Send me some more pictures and videos. So I did that, and I didn't hear anything. So I just assumed he was being polite. Then 8 months later, I got an email out of nowhere that said, we're working on the Dark Crystal Age of Resistance for Netflix. Would you like to come out and work on it?
And your heart dropped
yeah, I mean,
through the floor.
Yeah.
Your jaw followed it shortly after.
Exactly. Tex Avery cartoon. Yeah. So yeah, I was on cloud 9, got to work in the animatronics department, got to work with some of the greatest special effects artists that have worked on, like, the Gremlins, Jurassic Park, Terminator.
Yeah.
I mean, crazy talented people. And I was just the new guy there, but I mean, it was amazing,
Right. So here's a thing. You go in. I understand that this is an intense process, and no matter which way you look at it, and in some of the ways, like they do stop motion animation, that takes weeks and months just for a short period of film. You're there with how many other people running, even just like one piece, like there's got to be tons of people going on.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty much like, the sculptors sculpt the creature first, then it goes to the mold shop, and they have a whole team of people that mold it and cast it. Then from the mold shop, they give us, the mechanics, they give us a skull, and then we start putting all the mechanisms inside the skull. And then from us, it goes to the fabrication department, where they put the skin on it. They glue the skin down, they put the teeth in, paint the eyeballs, put those in. And then from there, it goes to the costuming department, which was a separate location, a ton of people all hand sewing all these like very intricate little costumes. I mean, it was incredible.
Yeah, and that's for one puppet. You know, even if it's a background character there for 10 seconds, it's all that work, and it's all very intense. And I think you can kind of illustrate a little bit about how intense some of that is. This is one of the little clips that you sent me. This is the little fella behind you there. Why don't you do just a quick little introduction for him? Is this Twiggly?
Oh yeah, sorry, I was reading the comments.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, this is Twiggly's under skeleton. So without the skin on it, that's all the mechanisms. That's a cast of my own teeth.
Oh wow. Okay.
And then hand painted eyes and all that. And everything's handmade. I don't have a 3D printer or a laser cutter or anything like that. It'd be nice to have that at some point, but I do take pride in hand making things. I really like the idea of just making everything from scratch.
Okay, and that's an amazing point of this too, because I know there's a bit of production that can be done as far as like 3D printing and stuff like that's concerned. But for instance, like you said, those are your own teeth. Like that's taking a cast of your teeth, that's waiting for the epoxy to dry, that's painting them up to make them actually look like teeth. I mean, that's such an intense.
Yeah, well, so to be honest, I actually was at the dentist getting a chipped tooth fixed, and they made a mold of my mouth there.
Oh, yeah.
And I asked her if I could have a copy, and she just poured me up a plaster copy, and then I made another mold of that. But yeah, I mean, it's all intense, huge processes that go into every bit of this. Even making the eyeballs is a whole separate set of.
Oh, it's not just Sesame Street ping pong balls with little dots going on them anymore. It's like a whole thing now. Yeah. Making
2 molds and casting a clear lens over the whole thing after you paint it, and and in the back of it has to be able to receive a mechanism too, so it has to be hollowed out and
Fantastic. So tell me a little bit. You mentioned having earlier. You mentioned having a special project that you were working on and wanted to show us. Do you want to take a moment to do that now?
Yeah. So this is a let me put the wire up real quick. But so this is a mechanical talking tree face for a park in Grapevine, Texas. So it'll be a face that'll go onto an existing tree. And so what I'm about to show you is the eyeball mechanism.
And then after the eyeballs, I'll pull up the actual face.
Yeah. Is that a good angle?
Yeah, we can see it real well. I put you on full screen too, just so you know.
All right. And there's R2 in the background.
Yeah, R2.
All right. So give me the eyebrows. So the irises are not painted yet. That's why they're completely clear looking.
Sure.
But I did paint this, airbrush this halo around, so it kind of looks more organic. But yeah, they have up and down motion. The eyelids actually track the iris, which is nice.
Oh, I see. So when you look up, the eyelids kind of flex to move up with the iris as well. Okay.
Yeah, they follow. So yeah, which just adds just a little bit more realism to it.
Absolutely. And I'm assuming that top bar, that's your like eyebrows.
Yeah, so these are the eyebrows. Actually, sculpted with the bark texture and everything. These will be hooked on there. They'll move that way and up and down.
That's amazing. So briefly, this is all wires, metal, and motors. How many tiny little motors are in this thing?
Let's see. There are 5.
Okay. That's a lot of work for 5 motors. That's amazing.
Yeah, so that's something I've gotten pretty good at over the years is making a lot of movement out of not a lot of motors, basically. Because I want to keep the price somewhat down.
Yeah, as every artist must do, you refine your process. And you
yeah, exactly. So I use a lot of all this aluminum is all cut on a bandsaw. I use a lot of linkages to get a lot of movement out of one little servo. These are airplane model airplane servos.
Oh, so for in a model airplane sense, those will control the little flaps that move it.
So all they do is a little side to side movement. But if you can hook that to a lever that has a big throw to it, you can get a lot of motion at the very end. So it's a lot of figuring out like the physics of how to get a lot out of a little package.
So much math.
I don't do any math, but it's kind of like intuitive math, I guess.
Yeah. This I have on the screen now. This is the tree face, kind of, not as it'll appear, but in motion in your shop. This, to put this to size, I know it kind of looks a lot smaller here. This is about 5 feet, you said?
Yeah, 5 feet tall, 4 feet wide.
So we could tell from the size of the eyes that we saw a moment ago. Put those eyes in this face. This is your whole piece. This is just an incredible amount of work. I'm going to move quickly here and try to show a little bit more, because you've been working. You showed me a piece that you're doing for the 13th gate.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I did that a while back.
Oh, okay. So this is a bit before.
Yeah. Well, this was maybe 2 years ago. So it's the Tinman. It's a modern take on the Tinman, and it's all made out of EVA foam, which is like the floor mat foam, like in a children's room, like those puzzle piece floor mat you would put down.
Oh, I'm familiar.
Yeah. So so I made it out of that so it would be lightweight for the actor. So it is a costume. The actor actually wears it. He wears an ice vest underneath it to keep him cool, and then I put a computer fan in the back of the head to keep his head cool. And he actually told me one night that it went out, and it was the most miserable. Like, couldn't finish the night out.
I remember. I'm a big sci-fi nerd. I looked back a little while back and read up a little bit about the old Godzilla costume.
Oh yeah,
several inches thick of a similar type material, and they were talking about the guy would every 15 minutes have to stop because he would overheat, but then also at the end of the day they would like dump the suit out because of all the sweat. So these things get so hot so quick, and I understand. I'm sure these people appreciate the attention to the detail you use on the inside as well.
Right. Yeah. I try to keep the actor in mind.
This is one. This is more of a prosthetic, something.
So this was
round in.
So I worked at a place called CFX here in Baton Rouge, and they're primarily a silicone mask company. So I worked there whenever I was in college. Around 2007, 6, 7, and that's actually where I learned how to sculpt and make molds and do a lot of these processes. So that was actually just that was a silicone mask that I had sculpted for them. It's in their product line.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I think we're getting kind of close to time here. I appreciate you coming on. I'm gonna go through a little bit of this real quick. Just so we can make sure to appreciate all the breadth of what you've done. You've been on a TED Talk at LSU. And I'm also going to drop a link into the comments for, let me see, I lost. Here we go. So TED Talk at LSU. This is on YouTube. I'm going to drop a link to this and Twiggly's battle. This is the little character on the bench behind Barton, and this is the video that you and Clay Shea put together that got you into the Henson Studios, like we talked about. This is going to be in the comments again. Take a look if you're interested in seeing. Of course, you can see Barton's work at Barton Gilley on Instagram, and there's quite a bit. You can see some of the little bits and pieces of some of the other work that he's been doing. And Barton, I appreciate you coming on the program. It's been amazing having you. And
well, thanks for having me.
Look forward to seeing more of your work in the future.
Yeah, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So everybody, again, thanks for sticking with us and enjoying the show. If you're interested in donating or joining, we have memberships as little as $5 a month. BatonRougeGallery.org/join. We have, if you're interested in submitting some of the work of your own, we have BatonRougeGallery.org/flatcurvegallery. Go there; it's free. You can drop in. Basically, you know, if you're a child with crayons or you're an adult with crayons and you make art, you know, feel free to drop in. Like to take again a moment to shout out our partners at Breck. They've been with us since 1966. Thank you so much. You're, you know, the reason we have a location. Of course, all of our members and donors, you're the reason why we're here and able to provide you with this amazing content like we're doing today. And tune in, I think it's Tuesday, is when Kelsey will be having another episode of Artists in Residence, and we'll post some more information about that on Facebook. Thank you all so much for joining us today in the stream. I appreciate having all of you here to watch us and having all of our guests on the show today. Thank you so much. Can't do this without you. Have a great day and stay safe.